look back at September 11th, and how many planes went down before the people started to fight back, even if it cost them their own lives? So the last plane went down in the Pennsylvania farm field. And people say, would September 11th happen again? No. And one answer is, well, we enforced the cockpit doors, or we've strengthened the cockpit doors so they couldn't get into the cockpit. But I think there's a second thing that's far more important, which is every single passenger on every single plane that lived through September 11th now says, never again. I will take responsibility for my liberty.
If you got up in a plane and said, I'm going to hijack this plane, you may be now ejected from that plane by the passengers.
Exactly.
A couple passengers will open the door, the rest will throw you out. You know.
So I have great hope and optimism for the resilience of the resilience of the American people to recognize this is what I have to do. But look, we're human and lazy. So if you can get somebody else to do it for you, you will. And this is the challenge of selling the set of ideas that we sell, is that we're selling responsibility. We're asking people and encouraging people to take responsibility. And if you can blame somebody else or get somebody else to do it or shirk it, that's attractive to a lot of folks.
Yeah.
So how does this play out is uncertain, but if I were going to make a bet, I would bet on those people of passion and people of belief pursuing what they think to be the truth. I mean, it's already you have 20 million Americans or so who are regular marijuana smokers. What percentage of those are medical, I don't know. But they are in a sense saying, well, I know what the law is, but I believe it's an immoral and illegitimate law, and I'm going to practice an act of civil disobedience. So, what happens when you have medical cannabis, it seems to me, is that for some subset of that world, and for another world that might not have access to the medicine they need, you're actually taking them out of that situation where they are disenfranchised and in opposition to the laws of our country. And for me, I grew up under the 55-mile-an-hour speed limit. And so learning to drive on the freeways, rural freeways, I learned to look in my rearview mirror every second that I was driving. And I remember very distinctly when I was in Colorado, going along the freeway, looking in my rearview mirror, and I looked up and I saw a speed limit 70 miles an hour, and I looked down and I was going 67. And I thought, my whole body just relaxed, and I said, I'm not a criminal. I'm driving the speed limit. And so when you have laws that are inconsistent with the practices of the citizenry, you create these tensions. And when you have doctors and patients, Kaiser Permanente, nurses associations endorsing the use of cannabis as medicine, when you have the Institute of Medicine recording the documented medical uses, and then you have the zealots in the Drug Enforcement Agency coming after marijuana and medical marijuana patients and medical marijuana dispensaries, something's out of whack with that picture. And I think you just have to look at it quite simply and say the illegitimacy in this case is on the part of the zealots in the Drug Enforcement Administration that are pursuing doctors and patients who are using medical cannabis in a reasonable and medically proven way.
I wonder if the public is going to get bored with this as a topic, and if that could hurt. The issues only have so much play in the media. Gay marriage comes, it makes a lot of people happy, outrages another group of people, and then after a while the media just kind of stops.
Right, it reaches saturation.
It reaches saturation. People just aren't interested in it. It doesn't sell newspapers anymore. It doesn't sell whatever you're advertising on the news shows anymore. And I'm wondering if, we've seen medical marijuana patients be arrested, and we've seen these people, many of them are pitiful, be thrown in jail. I remember once they did arrest a woman in Arizona who I believe had no arms and only one leg, and they arrested her and put her in jail for marijuana. And this didn't even make the newspapers. Right. In fact, if you say this, people don't even believe you. I'm sure there's people out there listening to me that don't believe it, but it's something that you can look up.
It is outrageous. There's a woman in Santa Cruz, Suzanne Fiel. I may have pronounced her name improperly, but she's paraplegic and uses cannabis as medicine. And they raided her home, and they screamed, "Get out of bed!" She's like, "Can't move. Get out of bed!" They handcuffed her to the bed.
Wow.
I mean, it's paraplegic. I mean, it's really, really offensive. I mean, when you have a government doing that to innocent people, I mean, something's broken.
And you hardly hear about this stuff in the media, and I'm wondering when the media is going to take advantage of this outrage, start reporting on these things, and that's one of the reasons hearing things like that, I don't think it's reached the saturation point, because
and I don't think so either, because there's still a lot of misinformation out there. Montel Williams, the talk show host, uses medical cannabis, and after he was harassed in the airport in Detroit, he got very activated. And because there's such disproportionate persecution of blacks in our country for drug use, I mean, he's really an important face for that issue. But I was with a colleague in a coffee shop in Redondo Beach, and we went around and talked to a few people just to kind of see what people think. And she's a sociologist, and she would go up to a table and she would say, "When I say Montel, what does that mean to you?" And pretty much every table they'd go, "Montel Williams." And then she'd say, "Well, do you know that Montel Williams has been in the news lately?" And then here the knowledge would drop off. And usually if there was a 50-year-old white woman, she would know that he had multiple sclerosis. I mean, his demographic, who watches his talk show. And then she would say, "Do you know that he has medical cannabis?" Nobody had any idea that he had used medical cannabis. But one woman, when she said that, the woman said, "Oh, well, that'll make him forget he has multiple sclerosis." And I thought, wow, you know, that's really harsh, but that gave me some indication of the level of knowledge and the perception about medical cannabis use. I mean, there's just a lot of misunderstanding. You know, at that point, it's not time to lecture her about spasticity in the Institute of Medicine report, but that's her gut level reaction to the question of is marijuana legitimate medical use?
Well, he's a national figure. He's also I believe was an ex-Marine. I believe that he did.
And also he did ads for the drug control ads saying how evil drugs are several years ago. Yeah.
And now he's forced by his illness to use street drugs, or what has been turned into a street drug. But right now we have to say goodbye. I'd like to thank you very much for coming out.
Yeah, it's good talking to you as always.
If anyone else out there would like any more information on the Reason Foundation, go to reason.org. The Libertarian Party, you can join us online at www.lp.org. And for those of you that don't have the internet, you can give us a call at 1-800-ELECT-US, and we'll send you out a free packet of information. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Don't give up.